The business case for information governance. I'm Dr. Mary Cecil. The business case for information governance has historically been difficult to justify. It's hard to apply a strict short-term return on investment calculation. A lot of time, effort, and expense is involved before true economic benefits can be realized. So a commitment to the long view and an understanding of the many areas where an organization will improve as a result of a successful information governance program are needed. But the bottom line is that reducing exposure to business risk, improving the quality and security of data and e-documents, cutting out unneeded storage information, and streamlining information technology while focusing on business results adds up to better organizational health and ultimately an improved bottom line. The information environment is changing. Data volumes are growing, but unstructured information, email, word processing documents, social media posts, is growing faster than our ability to manage it. Analysts estimate that over the next decade, the amount of data worldwide will grow 44 times over. However, the volume of unstructured information will grow 50% faster than structured data. Analysts also estimate that fully 90% of unstructured information will require formal governance and management. In other words, the problem of unstructured information governance is growing faster than the problem of data volume itself. Managing unstructured information is a separate and distinct discipline from managing databases. It requires different methods and tools. Moreover, determining the costs and benefits of owning and managing unstructured information is a unique but critical challenge. Why is it so challenging? First of all, horizontal versus vertical. Unstructured information is typically not clearly attached to a department or business function. Unlike the vertical focus of an enterprise resource planning database, for example, an email system serves multiple business functions, from employee communication to filing with regulators, for all parts of the business. Unstructured information is much more horizontal, making it difficult to develop and apply business rules. Second, formality. The tools and applications used to create unstructured information often engender informality and the sharing of opinions that can be problematic in litigation, investigations, and audit, as it has been repeatedly demonstrated in front-page storage over the past decade. This problem is not likely to get any easier as social media technologies and mobile devices become more common in the enterprise. Management location. Unstructured information does not have a single obvious home. Although email systems rely on central messaging servers, email is just as likely to be found on a file share, mobile device, or laptop hard drive. This makes the application of management rules more difficult than the application of the same rules in structured systems, where there is a close marriage between the application and the database. Ownership issues. Employees do not think that they own data in an accounts receivable system like they own their email or they own their documents stored on their hard drive. Although such information generally has a single owner, the organization itself, the non-ownership mindset can make the imposition of management rules for unstructured information more challenging than that for structured data. And finally, classification. The business purpose of a database is generally determined prior to the database design. Unlike structured information, the business purpose of unstructured information is difficult to infer from the application that creates or stores the information. A word processing file stored in the collaboration environment could be a multi-million-dollar contract or a lunch menu. As such, classification of unstructured content is more complex and more expensive than structured information. Many organizations act as if storage is an infinitely renewable resource and only cost of information, but somehow enterprise storage spending rises each year and IT support costs rise even as the root commodity, disk drives, grows even cheaper. Obviously, we're not considering labor, overhead costs incurred with managing information, and the additional knowledge workers' time wasted sifting through mountains of information to find what we need. The executive who concludes that a terabyte costs less than a nice meal at a restaurant after browsing storage drives on the shelves of a big box retailer is a little help. Rising information storage costs cannot be dismissed. Each year, the billions that organizations worldwide spend on storage grows, even though the cost of a hard drive is less than 1% of what it was about a decade ago. We've treated storage as if it has no cost to the organization outside of the initial capital outlay. This is short-sighted. Some of the reasons that managers and executives have difficulty comprehending the true cost of information is communication. IT departments don't see the full cost of e-discovery and litigation, for example. Even if IT partners with litigators, IT rarely learns what really drives strategic decisions. Conversely, the law departments rarely own and pay for the IT consequences of litigation strategies. So we've entered that era of big data, internet scale enterprise infrastructure, powerful analytic tools, massive data sets from which we can potentially bring profound new insights about business, society, even ourselves. We have that era of all data is good, the more the better. But there are downsides of big data that we need to see and recognize. There can be social control, privacy, misinformation, civil rights abuses, just the possibility of being overwhelmed by too much data. So we need to see the truths of big data, both the advantages as well as the disadvantages. As we look at costs, we need to be aware of the total cost of ownership as well as the return on investment. So a good way to comprehend that is full cost accounting models. Full cost accounting seeks to create a complete picture of costs, including past, future, direct, and indirect costs, rather than just a direct cash outlay. Information governance professionals must be ready with new models that calculate the risks of storing too much of the wrong information and also the benefits of clean, reliable, accessible information. Organizations can learn from accounting models, calculate total costs, and apply the principles to increase cost transparencies to drive better management decisions. We should investigate total cost accounting models to calculate the cost of owning unstructured information and consider the cost of IT operations, personnel, facilities, and technical support. We should look at productivity gains and losses. We should look at legal and e-discovery costs, as well as indirect costs, which might be accounting, billing, clerical support, contract management, insurance, payroll, purchasing, as well as those upfront costs, which include acquisition of a system, integration, configuration, and training. And it includes depreciation of capital outlays. And future costs, maintenance, migration, and decommissioning of information systems. Organizations need tools to help them establish facts about their unstructured information environment. The business case for better management depends upon these facts. We should look for tools that can help us find unstructured information wherever it resides across the enterprise, including email systems, shared network drives, legacy content management systems, and archives. We need fast and intuitive access to basic metrics, such as size, data blast access, and file type. We need sophisticated analysis to the nature of the content itself to drive classification and information lifecycle decisions. We like visibility into the environment through dashboards that are easy for non-specialists to configure and use. We need to identify and build consensus on the sources of all costs for unstructured information, those that are critical for return on investment calculations. E-discovery is finding, processing, and producing information to support lawsuits, investigations, and audits. Unstructured information is typically the most common target in e-discovery, and poorly planned information environment could add millions of dollars to costs in large lawsuits. These cost drivers are examples such as outdated or unenforced policies can create costs. Cost reducers are formal, communicated, and enforced policies, for example. Disposition is getting rid of information that no longer has value because it's duplicate, out of date, or has no value. In poorly managed information environments, enterprises with frequent litigation, the risk of throwing away the wrong information only increases risk and cost. Better management and smart information governance tools can drive costs down. Classification and organization. Keeping unstructured information organized so employees can use it. It is also necessary so management rules support privacy, privilege, confidentiality, retention, and other requirements. Digitization and automation. Many businesses' process continue to be a combination of digital, automated steps, and paper-based. Automating and digitizing these processes require investment but can also drive significant returns. For example, automating accounts payable can reduce invoice processing up to 90%. Storage and network infrastructure. The cost of the device, network, software, and labor required to store unstructured information. Although the cost of the baseline commodity, the storage space, continues to fall, for most information, overall volume growth and complexity means the storage budgets go up each year. For example, organizations more than double the amount they spend on storage-related software, even though the cost of the raw hard drive drops. Information search, access, and collaboration. The cost of the hardware, software, and services designed to ensure the information is available to those who need it when they need it. This typically includes enterprise content management systems, enterprise search, case management, and the infrastructure necessary to support employee access and use of these systems. Migration. The cost of moving unstructured information from outdated systems to current systems. In poorly managed information environments, the cost of migration can be so high that organizations maintain the old systems long after they're no longer needed, just to avoid the migration cost and complexity. Policy management and compliance. The cost of developing, implementing, enforcing, and maintaining information government policies on unstructured information. Good policies, consistently enforced, will drive down the cost of owning unstructured information. Discovering and structuring business processes. The cost of identifying, improving, and systematically making routine business processes that are currently ad hoc and disorganized. This might be contract management and accounts receivable, informal email and document-based processes, turning those into fixed workflows. This can drive costs down. Knowledge capture and transfer. The cost of capturing critical business knowledge held at the department employee level and putting that information in a form that enables other employees and parts of the organizations to benefit. That includes intranets and more contemporary wikis, blogs, and social media platforms. So how do we create information value? We clean, we build and maintain, and we monetize. First, we identify our unstructured information. We look for duplicate information, information that has not been accessed in years, information that no longer supports the business process, information with little value, information with no legal obligation to keep, information that has defensible deletion. We clean that data, and then we build and maintain an information governance program that establishes our information constitution, the why, the laws, the what, and regulations, the how. We need a corporate governance, compliance, and audit plan that gives our program the teeth and a technology infrastructure that makes it real. It must be a defensible program to ensure that we comply with the laws and manage the risk. After we clean, we build and maintain, then information governance is a means to an end, and that end is value creation. Information governance also mitigates risk and drives down costs, but extracting value is the key. Although monetization and value creation often associated with structured data, new tools and techniques create new opportunities for value creation from unstructured information. Clean, build and maintain, and then monetize. So for these 3 key steps, these are some examples. So to clean, we might take an inventory of our information. We might delete information. We might have a records retention policy. For build and maintain, we might form our policies and procedures, do an audit, or incorporate some technology. And then to monetize, we might find ways to create value through information, perform business insights, and create margins. Here's an example from IBM on how to create value from information.
While it's difficult to put a price tag on the global economic burden of diseases like asthma, it's clear that improving access to preventative care is a key part of the solution. In the US alone, 2 million asthma sufferers will land in the emergency room due to preventable attacks, and $50 billion a year is spent on asthma, with hospital visits as the largest contributor. So what if we could identify patterns behind these attacks and prevent them, saving billions of dollars in unnecessary suffering? Meet Sophia. She's a data scientist at Apex Analytics, studying trends in the field of biomedical research. She's been working on a project involving weather data and pollen, a known asthma trigger. So when Sophia's colleague Jane mentions her son's recent hospitalization for an asthma attack, Sophia wonders if the dramatic seasonal change over the weekend was a trigger. And if so, could weather forecasts predict when patients are at a higher risk of an attack? Jane is intrigued by Sophia's hypothesis, and as an offering manager, she gets approval to research an application that could be sold as an alert service. Together, Sophia and Jane gather preliminary business and academic information, discovering that Sophia's theory has not been validated, but if they find a link, this could be a breakthrough for patients and related healthcare businesses. Sophia decides to move forward with her research and approaches her data engineer, Greg, to determine how to proceed. They'll need a combination of data. Internal data can be sourced from earlier Apex research using electronic medical records. The records on asthma-related emergency visits they'll need are considered privileged and have to be extracted and kept private. They will also look at external data sources such as pollution and weather data that are publicly available. With the right data sets secured, Sophia and Greg begin to clean and process the data, a task sometimes called data wrangling. This involves removing irrelevant data points and putting the right information into a format so it can be easily analyzed later. The next step is data exploration. Sophia looks for relevant location and time-specific correlations. For example, she compares wind patterns with past asthma records to see if the spread of pollen correlated to a high outbreak. Sophia's findings support her hypothesis, so she begins feature selection and model selection to create a predictive model. Based on the correlations, she selects features in the data that are the most useful and relevant to predicting asthma outbreaks. Now that the model is set, Sophia starts to cross-validate by dividing her data and conducting multiple tests for accuracy. If those tests perform well, Sophia runs a test on an entirely new set of data the model hasn't seen. After successful testing, Sophia has quantified what specific weather conditions are strongly tied to the onset of severe asthma attacks. And now that she has created a model to accurately predict those conditions, she can deploy it to create an alert application that will benefit patients and businesses. With the help of Greg and other software and DevOps engineers, they turn Sophia's model into the accessible Application Programming Interface, or API, that will service the alerts. Meanwhile, Jane, as the offering manager, starts telling her clients about the new application and how it can be of use to them and their business. For insurance companies, it's fewer expensive ER visits when their patients are prepared. For hospital administrators, it's cost savings and smarter staffing of specialists. For pharmacies, it's higher customer loyalty and engagement when they alert customers to get their prescriptions on time. And finally, for people like Jane and her son, it's being able to enjoy the seasonal weather.
So we can create value and we can also save money by challenging the culture. We can educate employees about the cost of information mismanagement through case studies and facts. We can show employees their information footprint by exposing them to the amount of data storage they're using in email, shared drives, content management systems, and the other environments they work in. We can design systems to minimize information overuse, perhaps preventing employees from exporting emails to personal archive files, turn off the ability to store documents on desktop hard drives to encourage the use of managed collaboration environments, and require employees to send links to shared content rather than creating email attachments. We can baseline the amount of information per system, per department, perhaps per type of user. How much information do they currently have? How much has value? How much should a user have? They're not easy questions, but even rough calculations can help make a difference. And then we can create targets or quotas and allocate them by business unit, system, or user. Creating knowledge helps create the informed user. So to summarize, the business case or money values or information governance programs are difficult to justify, but it takes a commitment to find those values and to develop a successful program. Unstructured data is growing faster than data itself. And the key steps for driving information value are to clean, build and maintain, and monetize. And the information governance professional must be ready to challenge the culture and share the risks of too much information and the benefits of cleaning, building and maintaining, and monetizing the information.